Why was the gas station so quiet? The desert sun had dropped, shadows stretching long across cracked pavement. Cassandra Mitchell eased her old Ford F-150 next to pump number 3, the engine clicking as it cooled in the September heat. The clock on the dash read 7:42 p.m. She made this drive 100 times, maybe more. But tonight felt different. Because her son was coming home. Wounded. The hospital's call had been clipped, official, almost casual. Non-life-threatening injuries. But Cass knew the code. She'd heard it too many times before. Non-life-threatening meant bleeding, scars, nights that wouldn't end. It meant he'd seen something he shouldn't have. Her hands shook just once as she fitted the nozzle into the tank. Just once. That's when she heard them. Engines deep, heavy, rolling across the flat Texas dark like a storm front. 7 broke the stillness, sweeping into the lot with the slow confidence of predators. Their jackets were black leather stitched with blood-red skull patches, the crimson skulls. Not weekend riders, not hobbyists, the kind of men law enforcement never seemed to catch but always seemed to know about. Cass didn't move. She screwed the cap back on the tank, set her jaw. If she acted normal, if she looked like nothing, maybe they'd keep moving. They didn't. Well, look what we got here, the lead rider said, killing his engine. A mountain of a man with a gray beard and faded tattoos across his arms. His cut red, Butcher. The others fanned out, forming a semicircle around her truck, blocking the exit, blocking her. Pretty lady, all alone at sunset. Cass turned slowly back straight, face unreadable. Just getting gas, no trouble. Butcher's boots scraped on the concrete as he stepped closer, his breath reeking of whiskey. His hand dragged along the hood of her truck like he owned it. His eyes landed on the bumper sticker, a small army decal. Military, huh? His grin showed more rot than teeth. That your husband? My son, she said evenly. He's in the hospital, injured overseas. A younger rider snorted. Hear that, Butch? Army mom thinks her boy some hero. The laughter wasn't loud, but it was sharp, like knives scraping together. Butcher's gaze hardened. This here's Crimson Skull's territory. Military's brought but heat down on us. MPs around our business. We don't like uniforms. Cass felt the temperature in the air shift. She'd seen this before, when a moment turns, when posturing bleeds into real threat. Her pulse slowed instead of racing. Training buried deep in her bones whispered through her nerves. Measure every angle, watch their hands, stay calm. I understand, she said. I'll be on my way. Her hand reached for the truck door. Too slow. Butcher's grip snapped around her wrist. His hand was massive, his strength crushing, but Cass didn't flinch. She simply looked at him. Not so fast, he said. There's a toll for our ground. What do you want? That jacket. He nodded at the denim clinging to her shoulders, faded and plain. Nothing remarkable except the tiny American flag pin on the collar. You give it up, we let you drive off to your baby boy. The circle tightened, boots scraping concrete, cigarettes glowing in the dusk. One of the men, wiry, sharp-eyed, a rattlesnake tattoo curling up his neck, slipped behind her. Too quiet, too precise for a simple outlaw. Cass felt her muscles coil. She could end it here, but 7 against 1. Wrong odds, wrong place. And tonight her son needed her alive, not legendary. This jacket, she asked, voice calm, it's nothing special. Then you won't miss it, Butcher growled, yanking harder on her arm. And then the rip. The denim tore under rough fingers. The shoulder seam split wide. And in that ragged tear under the wash of fatting light, something glinted. Ink. Not ordinary ink. A bald eagle clutching a navy anchor, framed by a trident. Stenciled letters beneath, military precise, DEVGRUSD 6, 9304. SEAL Team 6. Silence dropped like a stone into a well. The laughter died, the boots stopped moving, the air changed. Butcher's face drained of bravado, his grip slackened as if burned. "Holy shit," he whispered. His voice wasn't a challenge anymore, it was fear. The wiry man behind her stepped closer, eyes narrowing, accent surfacing in his words Ukrainian. "Butch, look at the years." Butcher read the numbers again. 93 to 4, he stumbled back, breath catching. "Somalia, you're one of the phantoms." Cass didn't move, didn't blink, she simply stood, let them see what they'd tried to tear open. Predators, suddenly realizing the prey wasn't prey at all. Butcher raised his hands in a slow surrender. "We got no quarrel with you, misunderstanding, that's all." "I suggest you leave," Cass said quietly. They didn't argue, they scattered. Engines roared to life. Within seconds, the crimson skulls were nothing but red taillights disappearing down the highway. All except the man with the snake tattoo. He lingered, watching her, recognition burning in his eyes. Before mounting his bike, he gave the faintest nod, not of respect, of knowledge. When the rumble faded, only silence remained. Cass reached for the torn edge of her jacket, fingertips brushing the tattoo she had spent 15 years hiding. The secret she'd buried under routines, under motherhood, under the of a quiet ranch life. But ghosts never stay buried. Not forever. She slid back into the truck and drove, past the worn Mitchell Ranch sign, past the gravel driveway, past the two-story farmhouse she'd rebuilt with her own hands. Inside, she moved like a soldier even in civilian skin, feeding Duke, her German shepherd, checking locks, resetting alarms, walking the perimeter in silence, each movement a ritual. But tonight, ritual wasn't enough. She stopped in the hall, a single photo hung in the center, navy dress uniform, smile easy, eyes steady, her husband gone 21 years. "They saw the tattoo," she whispered, "after all this time." In her bedroom mirror, Cassandra Mitchell looked almost civilian. Almost. At 39, her body still bore the discipline of 5-mile runs and punishing training regimens. Her face carried worry lines but not weakness. She touched the tattoo again in the reflection, feeling the weight of what it meant. Ghost, that had been her name once, a phantom among shadows, one of the first, one of the few. And when the burner phone buzzed in the drawer, she already knew who it would be. "Mitchell," she answered. "Ghost, it's Commander." The voice was deep, familiar from another life. Her chest tightened. "There's been activity. Someone accessed the archive on Operation Silent Eagle." Her blood went cold. "Somalia, 1993. All surviving phantoms need to be alert," he said. "Eagle and Wolf are already." "Why now, after all this time?" "Unknown, but the access came from Kiev." Her mind flashed, heat, gunfire, the compound burning, a face twisted in rage through flames. Kran, could he? "He was reported dead in 2014, she whispered. "Bodies were never our specialty," Commander replied. "Stay sharp." Cass glanced toward the torn jacket folded on the chair, toward the photo toward the dark outside her window. And for the first time in years, she felt the old ghost stir inside her. Because someone was coming. And this time, they weren't after her. They were after her son. Why was her son smiling, after all he'd just survived? Cass froze in the doorway of the hospital room, the fluorescent light falling across Tyler's face. His left leg was elevated, wrapped thick in bandages. His right arm, too. Yet there he was, grinning. That same stubborn smile used to wear when pain was the last thing he wanted anyone to see. "Mom," his voice was steady, almost casual. Cass swallowed hard. For all her training, all her scars, she was never prepared for this. Seeing her only child alive but not unbroken. "They said you were coming," he said. "Guess they didn't lie this time." She crossed the room slowly, like the space between them was fragile ground. She leaned down and hugged him carefully, feeling the heat of his wounds, the sharp edges of fresh stitches beneath the thin hospital gown. She wanted to hold him forever, But soldiers don't cling, and her son was a soldier now. "I told you not to make me worry," she said softly. "Yeah," he chuckled, slight change of plans. He gestured to his leg. "Nothing serious, just shrapnel." Her eyes swept over the monitors, the IV drip, the bandages. Shrapnel doesn't look serious when it's wrapped in gauze. "Could been worse. Some of the guys," his voice trailed, a shadow passing over his expression. "Ambush. Convoy hit an IED, then small arms fire. Textbook tactics." Cass forced her face into calm neutrality. She'd heard it before, the soldier's code for horror, compressed into sanitized fragments. But behind his words, she heard the echoes of screaming metal, dust, and panic. "Doctors say you'll recover," she said. 6 weeks, maybe less." Tyler nodded, but his eyes changed. Serious now, focused. "Something happened, Mom, something weird." Her stomach tightened. "One of the attackers, he called me by name." She blinked. "Your name?" "Not my rank, not soldier. My name, Mitchell Tyler." He leaned forward slightly, ignoring the pain. And before I could even react, he shouted something else. He said. Tyler's eyes locked on hers. "Tell your mother the ghosts of Somalia send their regards." For a moment, the steady beep of the heart monitor was the only sound. Cass's pulse thundered in her ears. She'd prepared for many possibilities tonight, but not this. Ghosts, Somalia, words her son should never have heard. She straightened slowly, masking the fear rising in her chest. "Are you sure?" "Positive." Tyler searched her face. "Mom, what does that mean?" She wanted to lie, to shield him, to tell him it was nothing but nonsense screamed by dying men. But his eyes were sharp. He wasn't a boy anymore. "It was time." "There are things," she said carefully, "about me, about your father, that I never told you." Tyler didn't flinch. He only tilted his head, like he'd been expecting this. "Like how you're not really an X-ray tech." His tone was calm, not accusing, just certain. Her breath caught. "Or at least not always." Cass stared at him, her throat dry. "What do you know?" "I've found things over the years." His voice was steady but softer now. "Letters, records, Dad's service file, the real one doesn't match the official one. And sometimes when you dream, when you shout in your sleep, you call out names I've never heard before." His hands shifted on the blanket. "And the basement, you think I never noticed, you think I never wondered." Cass almost laughed, almost, her son too sharp for his own good. He smiled faintly. "Mom, I know about DVGRU." The word cut through the air like a blade. He squeezed her hand. "What I don't understand is why the secret, after all this time." Cass opened her mouth to answer, but the vibration of her phone shattered the moment. A text, unknown number. "At hospital, south entrance, 10 minutes." Her body moved before her mind could. She rose, scanning the hallway through the window blinds. A black SUV, parked too close, too deliberate. Her voice dropped into command. "Tyler, listen to me carefully. The people looking for me aren't ordinary criminals. They're enemies of America, and they've found us." Tyler's jaw set. He nodded, the soldier in him awakening. "What can I do?" "Trust me," she said, her fingers already dialing. The call was answered on the first ring. "Mitchell residence." "Mike, it's Cass. Situation at Fort Hood Medical. I need transport. I need eyes on this building." "Sheriff Mike, ex-Texas Ranger. A man too stubborn to die and too smart to ask questions he didn't need answered." "Your boy okay?" he asked, voice hard with concern. "For now, but Crimson Skulls are here. And they're not just bikers. They're connected to someone I knew a long time ago." Silence on the line. Then how bad? Cass pressed her forehead against the glass, watching the SUV. "Ghost is back." Another silence, then a muttered curse. "Jesus, Cass, I thought that life was behind you." "So did I." "You need me there in 20. Bring the package I left with you." "I'm on my way." She ended the call, turned back to her son. His eyes were locked on her no longer. Package, he repeated. Emergency kit, weapons, credentials. She nodded once. Tyler leaned back, a strange mixture of pride and fear on his face. You've been planning for this, haven't you? Planning, she said softly, is the only reason I'm still alive. Outside, movement flickered at the edge of the lot, a figure leaning against the motorcycle, snake tattoo glinting, watching Tyler's window. Cass's hand slid to the concealed holster under her shirt. She hoped the past would stay buried. She hoped son would never learn the truth. But as she looked at Tyler, at the strength in his jaw, at the questions in his eyes, she realized something. The ghosts hadn't just come back for her. They'd come for him. And if she didn't act fast, she'd lose the only thing she'd ever fought to protect. Why was the hospital hallway suddenly too quiet? Cass knew that kind of silence, the kind that meant predators were circling just out of sight. She moved to the blinds again, scanning the parking lot. The black SUV still sat under the sodium lamps, its windows tinted, its engine running, and beside it the motorcycle, empty. She didn't like the math. Mom, Tyler's voice pulled her back. He was upright now, jaw set, sweat beading his forehead from the effort. He looked too much like a soldier in that hospital bed, too much like his father. Lie back, she ordered. Tell me what's going on. Before she could answer, the door opened. Cass spun, hand already brushing her concealed weapon. But the figure in the doorway wasn't a threat. It was Sheriff Mike. Weathered face, 6 decades of hard lines carved into him. A shotgun bag slung across one shoulder. He stepped inside like he owned the space, nodding once to Tyler. Rooms clear, 2 suspicious in the lobby, another near the cafeteria. All cuts, crimson skulls, parking lot man, gone. Gone, Cass asked. Vanished, eyes narrowed, like he wanted you to know he was there. Cass exhaled through her nose. He did. Tyler watched them both, eyes darting between their faces. You two planned for this. Cass ignored the comment. Did you bring it? Set the duffel bag on the bed. Cass unzipped it fast. A backup, extra magazines, secure IDs, even a folded Kevlar vest. Her past, waiting for her like it had never left. Tyler's gaze lingered on the weapons, his expression shifting. So it's true. Cass met his eyes. She wanted to wait to explain slowly, but there wasn't time. You know your father raised you with honor. He was a SEAL, a good man, but before him, she stopped. Her throat tightened. Before him there was another. Tyler's eyes sharpened. My biological father. Cass nodded once. Michael Shadow. The name seemed to hang in the air, like a bell tolling after a funeral. Shadow was brilliant, fluent in 6 languages, hacker, disguise expert. He was the youngest member of our team. Your team, Tyler said carefully. The Phantoms, a pilot unit attached to SEAL Team 6, Somalia, 1993. Our mission was to capture a defector named Victor Kran. He wasn't just selling weapons. He was moving something worse. What? Cass's eyes flickered. Biological agents, Soviet stockpiles, the kind of weapons that don't just kill soldiers, they kill cities. She saw it then, her son's soldier mask slip. Just a flicker. A young man realizing the scope of the world's darkness. But the mission went bad, she continued. Explosives detonated, the compound burned, Kran was but escaped, and Shadow never came back. Dead. We thought so, she swallowed hard, until tonight. Tyler leaned back slowly, his expression unreadable. And you think he's with them? I heard his voice, Cass said quietly. At the ranch, he's alive, and if Kran's found him then. Her words trailed off. Cleared his throat, the old lawman uncomfortable with ghosts he couldn't arrest. Bottom line, you got 2 predators out there. Both know who you are, both know about Tyler, and both will use him to get to you. Then we move him, Cass said. No, Tyler cut in, his voice firm. I'm not running, not while you're in danger. Cass's chest ached. She wanted to grab him to remind him he was her son first, soldier second. But the look in his eyes stopped her. That was Michael's too. You'll do as I say, she said flatly. Then explain it to me, Tyler shot back. Don't keep me in the dark. Don't protect me with half-truths. If they're coming for me, I deserve to know why. The silence stretched. Finally, Cass sat down, the weight of years settling over her shoulders. Your father wasn't just your father, he was my teammate. He knew about Michael. He knew you weren't his blood, and he loved you anyway. He died protecting this country, protecting you, but the truth is, her voice faltered. The truth is your Shadow's son, and now Kran knows it. Tyler stared at her, his face pale, his breathing shallow. But when he finally spoke, his voice was steel. Then we fight. Cass closed her eyes. The pride and fear inside her collided like two storms. The burner phone buzzed in her pocket. She answered. Ghost, Commander's voice again. Confirm Kran alive. Shadow confirmed, working with him. The room tilted. Phantoms are activating. Eagle and Wolf inbound. 6 hours. Understood. Her voice was ice. Ghost, Commander's tone softened. Be ready. This time it's personal. The line went dead. Cass looked at her son, at the duffel bag full of weapons. She felt the walls of her carefully built life closing in. The phantoms weren't gone. They'd just been waiting. And now they were coming back. Tyler's monitor beeped steadily, his chest rising and falling with controlled breaths. Cass whispered under her breath, almost too soft to hear. God help us, the ghosts are awake. Why wasn't Duke barking? Cass felt it the moment she turned onto the gravel road toward the ranch. Her headlights were off, driving by moonlight, but every instinct screamed. Duke, her German shepherd, always met her truck at the bend, barking loud enough to wake the valley. Tonight, nothing. Her hand tightened on the cig at her hip. Something was wrong. She killed the engine half a mile from the house, hiding the truck behind mesquite trees. The silence pressed in. Even the cicadas seemed to hold their breath. She slipped out on foot, moving low, years of training flowing back like muscle memory. Through binoculars, the house loomed dark against the horizon. Too dark. The motion lights should flared. Instead, 3 motorcycles crouched beside the barn, their chrome dulled with dust. And beyond them, a black SUV near the back door. The SUV door cracked open. A lighter flared. And in that momentary glow, Cass saw the face she thought had burned away decades ago. Victor Kran. Older, the left side of his face melted by fire, but still twisted into the same predator's sneer. And beside him, a second figure, taller, leaner, military bearing unmistakable. Her breath caught. She didn't need to see his face to know. Michael's shadow. Her past, her son's blood, alive, standing with her enemy. She slipped back into the trees, every nerve screaming. She buried this truth under years of silence, years of pretending. But now Kran and Shadow were walking through her home, hunting her weapons, her secrets, her son. She circled wide, moving toward the hidden storm cellar. Years ago, she'd built it for exactly this reason. A tunnel no blueprint revealed, opening into the fortified basement. Quietly, she pressed her palm to the biometric lock. The steel door hissed open. Inside, the basement glowed dim. Maps, radios, cases of weapons, her phantom life, concealed under the floor of a rancher's kitchen. She locked the door behind her, setting. If Kran's men found the tunnel, they'd find reinforced steel. Voices drifted down from the main floor. She's not here, a man's voice said, smooth, American, a voice she hadn't heard in 30 years but one she'd know in her bones. Michael. She'll come back, Kran replied, his accent thick. The weapons will draw her, and her son, our leverage. Cass froze, her throat clenched. They knew. She listened, her mind racing. If they were here, she couldn't risk the arsenal falling into their hands. She armed herself quickly, night vision, extra magazines, the SIG snug at her back, a vest across her chest. Her eyes lingered on the SR-25 sniper rifle, old notes still taped to the stock. For a heartbeat, she wanted to take it. But tonight was about survival, not distance kills. Her sat phone buzzed, the vibration low in the quiet room. A message flashed. Shadow alive, working with Kran, caution advised. Confirmation, cold, absolute. She clenched the phone until her knuckles whitened. Michael, the man she'd once loved. The man who had betrayed them all. The man who had given her Tyler. Now standing with their enemy, hunting them both. She exhaled slowly, forcing calm. She couldn't confront him here. Not yet. She needed to reach Tyler, to regroup, to fight another day. By dawn, she slipped back into the trees, leaving her compromised home behind. The safe house lay hidden deep in the woods outside Killeen. An abandoned hunting cabin had reinforced years ago, motion sensors disguised as bird feeders, trail cams mounted high in the oaks, a generator buried under baffling. When Cass arrived, dawn was bleeding across the Texas sky. Was at the door with his shotgun. Tyler was inside, propped on crutches, eyes sharp despite the pain. Perimeter's clean, Cass reported, for now. Ranch asked. Compromised Kran was there, and Michael. The sheriff's weathered face darkened. Your old teammate. Cass nodded. The words felt like stone in her mouth. He's alive, and he's working with Kran. Tyler didn't flinch, he simply looked at her. My father. Her silence was answer enough. Leaned on his shotgun, sighing like a man shouldering a storm. So what's the play? We wait, Cass said. Eagle and Wolf are inbound, 6 hours. Until then, we hold here. Tyler shifted on the couch, staring at her. And then? Cass met his eyes, seeing in them, seeing Michael too. Then we end this, permanently. The cabin settled into uneasy quiet. Dozed in a chair, shotgun still balanced across his lap. Tyler lay back on the couch, drifting in and out, his face pale under the weight of medication and questions. Cass stood at the window, watching rain tap against the tin roof. Her mind replayed the glimpse of Michael in her house. 30 years hadn't erased the way he moved, the sharpness in his voice, the shadow of charm that once had disarmed her. Once. Her sat phone vibrated again. She checked the feed from the hidden cameras had placed. A Range Rover, headlights cutting through mist, rolled slowly up the dirt track. Government plates. Right on time. Cass's hand slid to her SIG. She stepped onto the porch, rain dampening her hair, her eyes locked on the approaching vehicle. 2 figures stepped out. One tall, gray-haired, movement still military. The other compact, sharp, her stance coiled with control. Even after 3 decades, Cass knew them instantly. Countersign, she called softly into the rain. The man's voice carried back, steady, deep. Phantoms never die, they just wait in the shadows. Cass's chest tightened. She holstered her weapon and walked forward. For a moment none of them spoke. The rain fell, tapping the earth. Ghost, Eagle, Wolf, 3 phantoms older now but unbroken. Then Wolf stepped forward and hugged her tight. It's been too long. Wolf, Cass whispered, holding back emotion. Jackson Eagle Carter extended his hand. You look good, Ghost. His eyes softened. Wish it were under better circumstances. Cass clasped his hand firmly. We've got work to do. They turned toward the cabin. Behind them the Texas woods stirred. The past was converging. The ghosts of Somalia were assembling again. And this time, Cass thought grimly, there would be no shadows left standing. Why was it so hard to breathe when they were all in the same room again? The cabin felt too small for the weight it carried. Cass stood near the window, arms crossed, watching rain slide down the glass. Behind her, leaned against the fireplace, Eagle sprawled in a chair, and Wolf paced slow, deliberate circles across the floor. Tyler lay on the couch, silent, eyes moving from face to face as if memorizing every scar, every detail. Three phantoms reunited after decades apart, and one young soldier who had never asked to inherit this shadowed legacy. "So it's true," Wolf muttered, finally stopping her packing. Her voice was steady, but her eyes glinted with unspoken fire. "Shadow's alive, and he's with Kran." Cass nodded once. Eagle leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. His hair had gone silver, but his eyes hadn't dulled. "We buried him in Somalia, or thought we did." "No body," Cass said quietly. "You know what that means." Eagle sighed. "It means unfinished business." The words hung heavy in the air. Tyler finally spoke. "I need to know what happened, all of it." Cass's jaw tightened. She wanted to shield him, but the time for secrets had passed. She looked at her old teammates. Eagle's steady gaze told her the truth. If Tyler was going to survive what was coming, he needed to understand. "Somalia, 1993, she began. The cabin seemed to fade, replaced by the scorched memory of desert heat, sweat stinging her eyes, rotors thundering overhead. "We were tasked with intercepting a defector, an officer named Victor Kran. Intel said he was moving black market Soviet bioweapons through Mogadishu, nerve agents, weaponized anthrax, the kind of nightmare that never makes the papers." Wolf leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "They dropped us 2 clicks outside the compound, Cass on overwatch, me and Eagle on point. Shadow was running comms and tech. He was the youngest of us, cocky, brilliant, always thought he was 2 steps ahead." Cass's throat tightened at the memory of Michael's grin, his reckless confidence. "We breached at 200, Eagle continued. "Silent entry, neutralized 2 guards. Everything went smooth until," he broke off, shaking his head. "Until it didn't." Cass's hands clenched. They were waiting for us. Somehow Kran knew, traps set, claymores hidden in walls, mortars zeroed on the roofline. It wasn't a raid, it was an ambush. Tyler's eyes were locked on her. He didn't blink. "Shadow went down first," Cass whispered. "Or so we thought. Blast threw him across the courtyard. We pulled back, but the fire spread. Kran disappeared in the chaos. When the smoke cleared, there was nothing left of Michael but blood and burned gear." Wolf's jaw tightened. "Command wrote it off, casualty of war, but we knew better, too clean, too convenient." "And now," Eagle added, "we know the truth. Shadow didn't die, he switched sides." Silence. The fire popped in the grate, filling the room with the sharp scent of cedar smoke. Tyler broke it. His voice was quiet but steady. "He was my father." Cass closed her eyes. "Yes," she whispered, "by blood but not by choice." Tyler's jaw set. "And you kept it from me." Her chest ached. "To protect you, to protect memory, to give you a life outside shadows." He looked away, his hands gripping the blanket tight. "And now the shadows found me anyway." Eagle leaned back, sighing. "Boys don't escape their bloodlines. None of us did." Wolf shot him a sharp look, but said nothing. Finally spoke, his drawl cutting through the heavy silence. "So what now? You sit here swapping old war stories, or you plan to do about those bastards parked at your front porch?" Cass turned toward him. "Kran's not just after revenge. He's after leverage. He wants to rebuild his network. With Shadow's intel and tech skills, he'll have access to things we buried decades ago, ops that never made it to the books." "Silent Eagle," Wolf said darkly. Cass nodded. "If he resurrects it, he'll put targets on American soil, civilian targets." The rain outside thickened, hammering the tin roof. Eagle stood, shoulders still broad, presence commanding even after all these years. "Then we stop him, the 4 of us, just like before." Cass studied him. Wolf's eyes burned with agreement. Shotgun stayed steady in his hands, and Tyler's gaze had changed. He wasn't just son anymore. He was Michael, too. He carried both legacies. She exhaled slowly. "We strike first, tonight." Wolf raised an eyebrow. "You know where they're holed up?" Cass hesitated, then reached into her vest, pulling out a small flash drive. She set it on the table. Before the ranch was compromised, I accessed satellite logs. Kran's convoy moved south. Old train depot 20 miles out. Abandoned but wired with new power. He's staging there. Eagle picked up the drive, studying it like it weighed more than gold. That gives us one shot. Cass looked at Tyler. His jaw was set, eyes steady. You're staying here. No, he said. Yes, she snapped. You're injured, you're not combat ready. I'm not useless either, he fired back. If Shadow really is my father, then I have a right to face him. The silence after his words cut deep. Cass wanted to argue, to scream, to hold him and never let go, but part of her knew he was right. Blood had drawn him into this. Blood demanded he see it through. Finally, Eagle spoke. We need him, Ghost, not on the front line but on comms. He can run support. Cass's throat tightened. Every instinct screamed to protect her son. But the mission needed more than instinct. She nodded slowly. Fine, but he stays on Overwatch with me. No direct contact. Understood. Tyler's eyes softened. Understood. Wolf leaned over the map spread across the table, her finger tracing routes. Depot's got 2 entrances. South wall is reinforced. East wing's collapsed, best breach point. Likely guarded, but it'll draw less fire. Eagle nodded. Wolf and I breach east, cover south as diversion. Ghost and Tyler provide Overwatch. Cass studied the plan. Clean, surgical, but nothing ever stayed clean. Her mind slipped back to Somalia, smoke, gunfire, Michael's face vanishing into flames. She whispered to herself, not this time. Tyler heard. His hand brushed hers, firm, steady. This time we finish it. The fire snapped loud in the hearth, echoing like gunfire. Rain hammered harder, thunder rolling low across the Texas sky. The phantoms leaned over the map, the ghosts of their past gathering close. And outside in the storm, Victor Kran waited. Why was the depot still lit when it was supposed to be abandoned? Cass watched through her night vision scope, raindrops streaking across the green glow. The train depot crouched in the valley like a carcass, its steel ribs twisted, its roof caved in. But the old freight yard pulsed with new power, floodlights casting harsh shadows, generators humming. Too alive for a dead place. They're expecting company, she whispered into comms. Wolf's voice crackled back, calm, measured. Then let's not disappoint them. Cass shifted her scope. 2 guards paced the catwalks above, rifles slung carelessly but eyes alert. More shadows moved between shipping containers stacked 3 high. The Crimson Skulls had traded leather for tactical gear. Military surplus. Bought or stolen, it didn't matter. They weren't outlaws tonight. They were soldiers. And somewhere inside, Victor Kran. And Michael. Her chest tightened. She scanned again, her scope pausing on the depot's central office. A silhouette past the window, the gate, the shoulders, the tilt of the head. Even after 30 years, she knew it instantly. Michael. Her throat closed. For a heartbeat, the storm around her fell silent. Then Eagle's voice broke through. Positions. Wolf with me. Give us that southern distraction in 3. Ghost, you and the boy keep eyes up top. Call shots only when needed. Copy. Copy, Cass said. Tyler's voice followed, steady but too eager. Copy. She glanced at him, crouched beside her in the mud, crutch laid aside, rifle braced against the rock. He was pale, pain shadowing his face, but his hands didn't shake. His discipline. Michael's fire. Her blood, her son. She whispered low, meant only for him. No heroics. Do exactly as I say. He nodded once. The storm deepened. Thunder rolled, and shotgun roared in the distance. The south fence erupted in chaos, shouts, gunfire cracking, floodlights swiveling. Guards scrambled, rushing toward the diversion. Go, Eagle's voice snapped. Wolf and Eagle moved like ghosts through the storm, slipping past the east wing where the wall had collapsed. They vanished into the depot's skeleton. Cass and Tyler held their ground, scope sweeping, heart steady. Minutes crawled. Rain stung her eyes, the taste of iron thick in her mouth. Every nerve screamed that something was wrong. Too many guards moving south. Too easy. Her stomach sank. "Eagle, Wolf," she whispered. "It's a funnel, they're pulling you in." No answer. She tried again, sharper. "Eagle, respond." Static. Her chest tightened, comms jammed. "Mom," Tyler said suddenly. His voice was tight. "Office window, movement." She swung her scope back. The silhouette stood framed in harsh light, staring straight out into the storm, straight at her. "Michael." He raised a hand, not in greeting, not in threat, a signal. And the depot came alive. Floodlights blazed, sirens wailed. Dozens of figures poured from the shadows, crimson skulls, armored and armed, moving in practiced formation. Not a gang, a unit. "Ambush," Cass hissed. She and Tyler opened fire in unison. 2 guards dropped from the catwalks, their rifles clattering. Cass shifted, squeezing off controlled bursts. Tyler's shots rang out steady beside her. Pride burned through her fear. He was good. Too good for someone so young. But there were too many. Explosions ripped through the south perimeter. Distraction was being swallowed whole. Cass heard his shotgun thunder again and again, then fade into the storm. She keyed her comms, desperate. "Eagle, Wolf, fall back, it's a trap." Static answered. Her gut twisted. "Mom," Tyler whispered urgently. "Left flank." She turned. 3 bikers-turned soldiers broke from cover, moving fast up the hillside toward their position. Too close. "Stay low," she snapped. She rose, pivoting, her SIG barking through the storm. 2 fell. The third kept coming. Tyler fired once. The man dropped face first into the mud, still. Silence returned, but only for a breath. Because then she heard it. A voice, carried through the storm by loudspeaker. Smooth, familiar, cutting deeper than any blade. "Ghost." Her heart stopped. 30 years and you're still running, the voice said. "Still hiding in shadows you don't control. Tell me, did you ever tell the boy who he really is?" Tyler froze beside her, eyes wide. "Michael," Cass whispered. The loudspeaker crackled again. "That's right, son, Tyler is it. I'm your father, not the man she pretended was, me, Shadow." Cass wanted to scream, to drown his words in gunfire. But she saw her son's face, pale, stricken, caught between disbelief and rage. The loudspeaker laughed. "She kept it from you, lied to you, all your life. And for what? So you'd worship a ghost of a man who died in another desert. Was never your blood, I am, and tonight you'll see what that means." Cass grabbed Tyler's shoulder. "Don't listen, he's trying to break you." But Tyler's eyes burned. "Why does it feel true?" Cass's chest ached. "Because it is, but truth doesn't mean loyalty. Blood doesn't mean honor." The depot erupted again, more gunfire, more shadows moving. Eagle's voice finally cracked through the static, strained. "Ghost, Wolf's hit. Repeat, Wolf's hit. We're pinned near the east wing." Then silence. Cass's throat closed. She rose from cover, eyes burning through the storm toward the depot. "We're going in." Tyler gritted his teeth, pushing to his feet despite the pain. "Then I'm coming with you." Cass shook her head. "You can barely stand." He met her gaze. His voice was low, fierce. "If Shadow in there, I need to see him. I need to know." The storm howled around them. The depot glared in the distance, a fortress of light and steel and betrayal. Cass exhaled once, long and steady. "Then we go," she said. And together, mother and son moved down the hillside into the fire. Why did the storm sound louder inside the depot than out in the open? Cass pressed her back to the rusted steel wall, the echo of gunfire ricocheting down the narrow service corridor. Rain drummed on the torn roof above, leaking through in rivulets that streaked the floor. The air smelled of oil and rust and blood. She signaled Tyler to hold position, his rifle tight against his shoulder. His leg trembled, but his eyes were clear. Too clear. He was holding it together with sheer will. "Stay low. Don't break cover until I tell you," she whispered. He nodded, jaw tight. Ahead, shadows moved. Crimson skulls, 6 of them, sweeping the corridor with mounted lights, their boots slapping the wet floor. Professional spacing. Training beyond what a biker gang should have. Shadow's hand, she knew it. She raised her SIG, exhaled, and fired 3 controlled shots. 2 dropped instantly. The others scattered, shouting. Tyler fired next, his round clipping one in the neck. Another fell. The corridor erupted with chaos, muzzle flashes strobing the walls, thunder shaking the roof. Cass moved with precision, years of muscle memory guiding her. She slid across cover, drew their fire, silenced one with a snapshot through a broken pipe. Tyler took the last, his shot clean, surgical. The corridor fell quiet again. But Cass's pulse didn't slow. The trap wasn't sprung yet. "Move," she whispered. They pushed deeper into the depot. Every corner, every shadow felt alive with danger. Her headset hissed with static, then Eagle's strained voice broke through. "Ghost status. Inside, moving north wing, you. Pinned in the east offices, Wolf's bleeding bad." Her gut twisted. "Hold, we'll link." "No time," Eagle barked. "Kran's moving cargo, trucks are loaded. If he gets clear, this whole state's at risk." Cass cursed under her breath. The bioweapons, silent Eagle reborn. She looked at Tyler. His face was pale but set with determination. "We split. You stay here, cover the corridor. I'll clear to Eagle and Wolf." "No," he said flatly. "You're not leaving me again." The storm howled above them. For a heartbeat, she saw stubborn eyes in her son. Michael's, too. She relented with a nod. "Stay close." They advanced together, moving past gutted offices and shattered windows. Shadows flickered in the lightning, shapes too fast to track. And then a voice. Smooth, familiar, too close. "Ghost." Her heart stopped. She turned slowly. And there he was. Michael's shadow. He stood at the far end of the corridor, framed in broken light, rain dripping from his shoulders. His hair was streaked gray now, his face lined with years, but his eyes burned the same. Cold, calculating. And when those eyes shifted to Tyler, Cass felt the ground tilt. "Son," he said softly. Tyler froze. Cass raised her weapon. "Don't you dare." Michael's lips curved, half smile, half sneer. "Still protective, aren't you, after all this time?" He stepped closer, calm, fearless. "You never told him the truth. You let him live a lie. You made me the villain before he ever had a choice." "You made yourself the villain," Cass snapped, her voice cracked with rage. "Somalia, Kran, you betrayed us. You betrayed him before he could even know your name." Michael tilted his head. "Or maybe I saw what you refused to. The world isn't black and white. The mission in Somalia wasn't about stopping Kran. It was about control. America wanted those weapons for themselves. I chose the side that understood power." "You chose the side that paid you," Cass hissed. "Call it what you like," Michael said smoothly. His gaze locked on Tyler again. "But he deserves to know his blood. He deserves to know the truth of what he is." Cass's pulse thundered. "He's my son, not yours, not anymore." Michael's eyes softened, almost tender. "You can't erase blood, Cassandra. He'll feel it. He already does." Tyler's hands shook around his rifle. His breathing quickened. "Tyler," Cass said urgently, her voice low, steady. "Look at me, not him, me." But Michael stepped closer, his voice a whisper in the storm. "I know what you hear at night, the voice you can't explain, the part of you that doesn't belong. That's me, son, that's us." Tyler's eyes flicked between them, torn, shaken. Cass's chest ached. She wanted to tear Michael apart, but rage wouldn't protect her son. Only truth would. "Tyler," she said, her voice breaking, "you are not him. You are not me. You are you, strength, my training, your choice. Don't let him steal that from you." For a moment the boy she'd raised warred with the blood he carried. Then Tyler exhaled, steady, and raised his rifle not at her, not at himself, but at Michael. Shadow smiled. "Good, very good. You'll make the right choice when the time comes." Then the corridor erupted with gunfire. Crimson skulls surged from side passages, forcing Cass and Tyler back. Michael vanished into the smoke like a phantom, his laughter echoing in the storm. Cass fired blind, pulling Tyler into cover. Bullets chewed the walls, sparks showering the floor. Eagle's voice cut back in through the comms, raw with urgency. "Ghost, they're loading trucks. We're out of time." "Cass's Josette, we're coming." She and Tyler broke through the gauntlet, bullets snapping past their ears, the storm swallowing sound and light. Her heart hammered, her breath ragged. And somewhere in the chaos, Michael's voice lingered, soft, haunting. "This isn't over, son." Why did the rain stop the moment the trucks began to move? Cass crouched low on the depot's catwalk, her scope fixed on the yard below. Engines rumbled, headlights cut through steam, and two massive trucks rolled toward the gates. Tarps covered their cargo, but she knew what was inside. Bioweapons. Silent Eagle reborn. If those trucks cleared the perimeter, entire cities would live under a shadow they'd never see coming. Her comm crackled, Eagle's voice hoarse, urgent. "Ghost, we're boxed in, East Wing. Wolf's hit bad. Trying to keep the south clear, but he won't hold. Stop those trucks or it's over." Cass's pulse thundered, too many fires to put out. She turned to Tyler. His face was pale but steady, rifle braced. "Your call," he said. "You lead, I follow." She exhaled heavy, then spoke into comms. "Hold tight, we cut the convoy." She signaled Tyler, and together they slipped across the catwalk, descending into the depot's skeleton. The storm had broken, leaving only smoke and floodlight glare. Every corner hid danger. Every step brought her closer to the one ghost she hadn't yet faced. The first truck growled forward. Guards flanked it, weapons raised. Cass dropped to a knee, fired twice. Two guards fell. Tyler took the third, a clean shot to the chest. The truck swerved, brakes screeching, but momentum carried it toward the gate. "Too fast," Cass hissed. She sprinted, cutting across steel beams slick with rain, her lungs burning. She leapt down onto the yard floor, rolling hard, pain flaring through her ribs. The truck loomed, grill bearing down like a charging beast. She raised her SIG, fired into the windshield, glass spiderwebbed. The driver jerked, slumped. The truck veered, slammed into a stack of containers. Metal screamed. Sparks erupted. The cab crumpled against steel, engine hissing. One down. But the second truck roared to life. Its headlights flared, and standing in front of it, as if waiting, was Michael. Shadow. His weapon hung at his side, forgotten. His eyes locked on her across the chaos. For a heartbeat the world narrowed. No trucks, no soldiers, just them. "Stop this," she shouted. Michael's lips curved, almost sad. "I can't, you don't understand. Kran isn't the enemy, he's the future. You think poison is the future. I think control is," he said softly. "And you, of all people, you could have ruled it with me. But you chose weakness. You chose loyalty to a flag that never cared about us." Cass's hands shook. Rage and grief tangled in her chest. "And you chose to betray everything we fought for." Michael's eyes flicked to Tyler, perched above with rifle aimed. His smile deepened. "And yet together we made something stronger. Look at him. He's the proof." "Don't," Cass warned. "Why not? He's half of me. He deserves to know the power in his blood. He deserves to see what you never let him see." Tyler's voice cut through, hard, steady. "All I see is a coward who abandoned his team." Michael's smile faltered, just for a second. Then the second truck roared past, breaking the standoff. Kran stood atop its flatbed, face lit by floodlight, shouting orders in Russian. Guards swarmed around him, their formation precise. Cass spun, raising her rifle. She fired, but too late. The truck barreled through the gate, splintering steel. Tires screeched against gravel as it thundered into the night. No, Cass ran forward, desperation clawing at her chest. Gunfire ripped overhead. His voice crackled through comms, strained but fierce. Ghost, they're breaking south. Got one shot at this, make it count. Cass's eyes darted. One truck escaped, but this one she could still stop. Tyler, she shouted, with me. They tore across the yard, bullets whining past. Michael's voice echoed behind them, but she didn't turn. Not now, not yet. The second truck swerved onto the access road. Cass raised her weapon, fired into its rear tire. Sparks burst, rubber shredded. The truck fishtailed, skidding sideways. Kran shouted, leaping from the bed, rolling hard into the mud. The truck jackknifed, slammed into the tree line. The impact shook the ground. The cab split, tarps ripping. Canisters spilled across the dirt, clattering like bones. Cass froze. Her worst fear lay in the mud at her feet. Bioweapons, dozens of them. Kran rose, blood streaming down his face. His pistol glinted in the floodlight. He raised it at Cass. And Tyler fired. The shot was clean, precise. Kran's body jerked, his pistol dropped. He staggered once, then collapsed into the mud still. Silence. Cass's breath came hard, ragged. The storm was gone. Only smoke and steam remained. Then applause. Slow, mocking. She turned. Michael stood at the gate, untouched, his smile cold. Impressive, would be proud. But he didn't teach him that shot, did he? That was me. Cass raised her weapon, fury burning in her chest. Don't you dare. Michael stepped closer, arms out, fearless. Then end it, kill me, prove you're stronger. Her finger tightened on the trigger. Every nerve screamed to finish it. 30 years of betrayal, of silence, of scars, ended with one bullet. But Tyler's hand closed over hers. Don't, he whispered. Cass's chest ached. Tears blurred her vision. Sometimes dignity doesn't speak, Tyler said softly. It simply acts. The words cut deeper than bullets. Cass lowered her weapon. Her choice was made. Michael's smile faltered, confusion flickering. You'll regret that. He melted into the night, shadows swallowing him whole. A ghost once again. Cass collapsed to her knees, breath shuddering. Tyler knelt beside her, steady, grounding. Eagle's voice finally broke through the static, ragged but alive. Convoy stopped. Wolf stables holding. They survived. But Cass knew the war wasn't over. Not with Michael still alive. Not with shadows still waiting. She looked at her son, his rifle steady, his eyes unshaken. You chose right, she whispered. He squeezed her hand. We chose. And as the rain began again, soft this time, Cass let herself breathe. Sometimes victory wasn't in the shot fired. It was in the shot. Sometimes dignity didn't speak. It simply acted.